So we're going to continue in Tehilim, Perek Lamed Vav, chapter 36. This one is a short chapter, but even though it's short, it contains very valuable messages in the area of emunah. Faith is something that has always been a challenge for many people. To believe in God, not to believe. Does He really exist? Did He create the world? If so, then why don't things appear to be right? Things don't appear to be just. Even though in reality, the first mistake people make when they question that is look at the design of creation. Everything appears to be precise. Everything appears to be perfect. There's perfection in creation. Then perhaps there is perfection in justice too, in how God manages the world. However, there were many who espoused the philosophy that God created the world, but He's no longer around. Since He's no longer around, that is why you see a balagan, as we would call it in Hebrew, a confusion, a mess, no order. It gives the impression that there's no judgment. David HaMelech tackles this in this chapter and deals with it various times throughout the Tehilim in explaining how people are deluding themselves in thinking that there's no creator, that there's no ashgacha. If they only would give it more thought, if they would only stop to think about it, to analyze, to ponder the creation, they would reach a different conclusion. The problem is they have a big enemy who doesn't give them an easy time. That enemy is called the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. So part of the problem, of course, as we're going to see in this chapter, deals with the power of this evil inclination. It's an incredible foe, an incredible enemy that unfortunately has caused many people to become distant from God. And as a result of that, their life was a wasted life, in a sense, not realizing that God takes care of us, God provides for us. And had we had the faith in God, the proper faith in God, the quality of life would be better. We would have it easier in many, many ways. So it's a shame that people don't take the time to stop and to ask questions to those who have the answers, and to realize that there's perhaps a lot that they don't know. But just because they don't know and they don't see does not mean it doesn't exist. So this is a very big question. Does God exist or not? This is really the foundation of all foundations. Once we have that belief cemented, once we have that belief constantly in our mind, then a lot of our questions and a lot of the doubts are removed. David HaMelech in Perek Lamed Vav begins as follows: Lamnatzeach le'eved Adonai leDavid. So this is to the compositor, the one who put together the music, the one that assembles the instruments. As David HaMelech has said in the past, there are certain instruments, musical instruments, that he reserved for certain prayers, for certain words of praise, for certain songs. So he's calling out to this compositor, Le'eved Hashem leDavid. This one is composed to the servant of God, David himself. He emphasizes here that he's a servant. Why is he emphasizing this here? Because a lot of people have this idea that it's possible to serve this God, if He does exist, in their heart. They believe, they feel, but it does not involve actions. This God does not necessarily require deeds. That's not so. Judaism is only about deeds. Obviously, one needs to feel, one needs to express, verbalize, all of that, but mitzvot is about deeds. Deeds need to be performed. One is not rewarded if he just had a good heart and he was a gentleman, nice guy. He has to perform, he has to demonstrate that he believes, not just in his heart, but in deed. So a true Eved, David says, is one who performs deeds, like himself. It's not just about feelings. And those who doubt, those who believe that God does not exist and that there's no reward and punishment, David HaMelech is about to explain how that is so not true. That even though you don't see the reward and punishment at all times, because it appears to be that many people who are wicked are prospering, and they shouldn't be according to the laws of justice, according to the law of God. Still, David is going to point out that's misleading. You are being misled by enemy number one, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Part of the problem, however, that David HaMelech does not mention here, but he mentions elsewhere, is that Hanistarot Lashem Elokeinu, the Torah says. There are certain things that are concealed from us. Shegiot miyavim ministarot nakeni, David HaMelech says. There are certain things that I ask forgiveness because I'm unaware. And I'm therefore unaware why I made a mistake. We make mistakes. So there's certain things we're unaware why certain things happen. So David HaMelech says, forgive me for that. We don't have complete control over all our actions, even though we do have free will. So the element of concealment is mentioned various times, that this world does have a lot that is concealed. Even the word olam comes from the root le'alim, to conceal. There's a lot more concealed than there is revealed. There's a lot more ocean than there is earth. In other words, there's a lot more covered than revealed. As it's stated more in the Kabbalah, that there is a lot more that man does not know than he will ever get to know. Even if he were to live 1,000 years, Shalom HaMelech says, he would not necessarily be that much more knowledgeable about God's creation. So David HaMelech says, I'm going to show to you that this God is Gomel Chesed. He's a kind God. He does reward man. Even though we don't see it, it does happen. Before we go on, it's important to also realize that in serving Hashem, in performing the mitzvot, it's important, and we mentioned this several times, that it be done with all of one's heart, that it be done sincerely. Otherwise, the deed that is being done, even though we followed instructions, we accomplished something perhaps, we did not really do something for ourselves. When we do something, the Torah says, you're doing it for yourself too. You don't think you're doing God a favor. He doesn't need your mitzvot. So this is for your benefit. A lot of people have the wrong attitude, therefore, when it comes to mitzvah. They think, oh, this is so restrictive. But this is for you. This is for your own benefit, that you stay out of trouble. When we do something with a certain amount of knowledge of why we're doing it, it will help us be more sincere about it, have more kavanah, have the right intent. When one does not understand, obviously it's going to be difficult for him to do it sincerely. So sincerity comes across in the area of how much knowledge, how much awareness does a person have. That's where we see the sincerity. One really loves his friend. Husband and wife really care for each other. That sincerity can be seen in many ways. Because there are times where people show an artificial affection, an artificial interest. It's not real, they smile. For something to be real, strong, lasting, it needs to be sincere. That's the key word. Tamim tiyem Hashem Elokecha, the Torah says, your faith should be complete and sincere. Then it will make a world of a difference in your life. If it's not sincere, then it's just lip service. It doesn't go too far. When we say we believe in God, we need to mean it sincerely, without any doubts. Otherwise, it will not have the same effect. So here David HaMelech is going to remind everyone, not just the people who don't believe, even the people who claim they believe. Don't think that you're a believer, even though you say you are. There are many trials in life. They will test you if you're a believer or not. One of them will be when you will see a rasha, an evil man, being so successful, not fulfilling, not observing any commandment. And you will see the righteous man having such a hard time and struggling. And you will ask yourself, well, how come? Is this fair? Well, I thought you had emunah. El emunah ve'na'avel tzaddik v'yasharu, the Torah says. You can trust him. He's not corrupt. He's just. But it's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara gets involved. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, does not just put up a fight with those who are negative, with those who are not righteous to begin with. He puts up a fight. He puts up a big challenge even with those who are righteous. You think just because someone is righteous, he leaves him alone? On the contrary, he goes after him even more than the one who's not righteous. The one who's not righteous is a good customer of his. He doesn't have to work hard. But with the righteous man, you know how many advertisements he has to put up to sell him the product, to entice him? That leads us to the next pasuk. So, Ne'um pesha larasha bekerev libi en pachad Elohim leneged einav. David HaMelech now explains, what does this evil inclination do? What does he say to the rasha? How does the rasha ever become a customer of this evil inclination? So David HaMelech says, bekerev libi, he's saying to himself, I can see how this evil inclination speaks to the rasha. Ne'um pesha larasha, the pesha, the sin, is saying to the wicked, En pachad Elokim leneged einav. There's no need to fear God before your eyes. In other words, there's no reason for you to be afraid. There's no reason for you to think that somebody's watching, that somebody's recording your deeds. There's no one around. Who told you that there's a God? Just try it. Remember the story of Adam and Chava with the Nachash? There you see a real example of the Yetzer Hara. Nothing is going to happen. You were told that you will die if you eat. I guarantee it, he says. Try it. It's tasty. Nothing will happen to you. And what happened? They ate. Nothing happened. See? That's exactly the way that Nachash works, the way the evil inclination works. And that is a lesson for all of humanity, for all time, till Mashiach comes. So long as we have free will, we have evil inclination, we will have this challenge. And the challenge entails partially emunah. But if somebody has emunah, then don't worry. There's other areas that will challenge him too. But this is part of the challenge, is emunah. Because if someone does not fear God, then the door is wide open for him to do almost anything he wants. So he says, this is where it all begins. And pachad, no reason for you to fear. In other words, the sin will not harm you, will not do anything to you. So, okay, but wait a minute. The human being is not so much of a fool. How does he buy this? How is he convinced so easily? So David HaMelech continues in Pasuk Gimel, Ki ehlik elav be'inav, limtso avono lisno. The simple translation means that the Yetzer Hara makes it appealing. Ehlik elav. It makes it tasty. It makes it appealing for him. Until, eventually at some point, limtso avono lisno. His avon, his sin, his iniquity will be found, will be revealed, and he is hated. So if you read the words literally translated, it's a little hard to understand, but the message here is very powerful. You want to know how the Yetzer Hara works? You want to understand the psychology behind why an individual, a human being, falls for it, how he's tempted? First of all, ihlik. It makes it appealing to him. There are many temptations in this world. And in order for something to be tempting, it has to be appealing. It has to be tasty. It has to be attractive. That is what brings out the ta'ava, brings out the desire in the human being. That's what gives him the push. That's what strengthens his interest in something which is forbidden, supposed to be forbidden. So number one, he makes it appealing to him. That brings out his ta'ava, his desire. But wait a minute. He still has free will. He knows that certain things are forbidden. But he's still eager for some reason to do it. And then, in order to be able to live with this problem that is going against the rule of God, he has to justify it. So from ta'ava, from desire, we go to tzedakah. We go to justification, rationalization, having a clean conscience, not to be bothered, not to be pained by, oh, I did something wrong. So he finds a way to justify it. So we go from desire to justification. And what happens after justification? You minimize it. It's not the end of the world. Lo kara shum davar. It's something small. So what? What's the big deal? And that is how people can continue the entire life to do all kinds of things that are forbidden, that are wrong. They desire, they have an interest in it, of course. They justify it. Then they minimize what they did. Or as psychologists would say, they're even in denial. I did it? It's wrong? Who said? At some point, a person is a slave, a servant of the evil inclination instead of God. And then it becomes difficult for him to get out of it. But what's limtso avono lisno? What does that really mean? The verse says over here that in the end, as though the Yetzer Hara has a goal here, and it's not just to make the human being fall, it's eventually limtso avono, to reveal his sin and to hate him. To hate. So the rabbis tell us, Hua Yetzer Hara, Hua Satan, Hua Malach HaMavet. This Yetzer Hara has various roles. He puts on various masks. He's first an evil inclination while a person is alive. He's also the angel of death. And he's also the Satan HaMekatreg. He will accuse. He will be the prosecution. He's the same guy, more or less. He has many messengers. This individual, his goal, and for this he was created, is limtso avono. He's enticing you, but in reality, lisno, he hates you. He hates you. He's not your friend. A lot of people don't know this. They think that this is good. What's wrong with it? They don't realize that the one who's selling them this product hates them. He's an enemy. He's not interested in you succeeding, being a decent human being, a servant of God. He was created for this. That's all he does. That's all he knows what to do. And unfortunately, he does a very good job. He's been too successful with too many people. So, remember, he starts off, Echlik elav. Yeah, big deal, it's nothing. It's appealing. It's good. Nothing will happen. But remember, limtso avono lisno, in the end, what he wants to really do to you is to bring out, to call attention to this avon, to this sin. And the reason for that is lisno. He hates you. Or you can also say lisno, that you will be hated. In other words, upstairs are not going to be too happy with you. Perhaps that could be another interpretation. All right. What happens next? An individual has become a customer by the evil inclination. And he hears a good speech occasionally. Perhaps people tell him off. Perhaps a tzaddik will tell him, you're wrong, and will argue with him. But he may not get too far. The next pasuk, David HaMelech explains why these individuals are in some ways stuck. Why are they stuck? Why can't they get out of it, ever? Even though they did something, they fell, they stumbled, but get out of it. So he says, Divrei fiv aven umirma, chadal leaskil lehetiv. The speech of his mouth is evil and deceit. He fails to reason to improve. This Rasha, all he hears, all he says is mirma, is deceit, is sheker. In other words, he's gotten used to a certain train of thought. He's gotten used to hearing a certain philosophy. He's gotten used to a certain way of life. That he speaks this language. That's all he talks about. How to make more money, how to do this, how to do that. Nothing to do with faith in God, nothing to do with spirituality. His whole essence is mirma. Avenu mirma, evil and deceit. And the bigger problem is hadal le'askil le'etiv. He's not thinking. He stopped to reason. Had he stopped to figure out whether he's doing the right thing, perhaps, he would change his mind. People talk to him, still doesn't stop. And therefore, chadal le'askil le'etiv, he's never going to be a better person as a result. He's never going to improve his ways. Because chadal le'askil, this is the key here of why these individuals who are so used to their way of thinking are not going to be able to come out of it, because chadal le'askil, they don't stop to think. They don't stop to reason. Perhaps they're wrong. Whoever told you you're right? Just because you're smart, you think you're right? You know how many smarter people than you lived before you and did not do what you're doing? How come? Did you think about that? You really think you're smarter than they am? Some people do. We're going to come to that soon. That's called ga'ava. The arrogance in many, many people doesn't let them think for a moment that they're wrong. Here he doesn't tell us the root of the problem. He just tells us that basically the first mistake these people will make is not to think. Not to even think. People don't stop to think. If everything is okay, they're doing well, they have no accidents, they're not sick, nothing happened to them, God forbid, why should they think? On the contrary, they think they're right. They think everything's okay, you see? That religious guy, he believes in God, he's struggling. Look at me. They don't stop to think for a moment that they're asking for trouble. And even though they don't see the trouble yet, it's coming later. When is that later? In the afterlife. Who says there's an afterlife? Olam haba. Because the evil inclinations pays cash. And God says, I pay with a post-dated check later on. Well, people don't like post-dated check. Post-dated check for after 70 years, 80 years or whatever, I pay you then. Who wants to wait 70, 80 years when you can enjoy, when you can have the pleasure now here? So, chadal le'askil, they don't stop to reason that perhaps there's something to this. There's a tradition of over 3,000 years, and so many people gave their lives for this. They believe in it, they know it's real. And somehow they were always strong. And here this guy is being misled. So they don't stop to think. And that is where part of the problem lies in. So because of that, the individual continues to believe this Yetzer Hara, who is talking to him all about mirma, all about avin. In other words, avin, sin, mirma, deceit. Continues to talk to him, and that's all he believes in. Next pasuk. To commit a wrong, to be tempted, to make a big mistake in life does not happen spontaneously. It takes time to develop. People usually do give certain actions some thought. They think about it at night when they're not busy, when they're resting. They plan their day tomorrow. People are not spontaneous in everything they do. So David HaMelech says, look, this is not about being spontaneous. This is about giving many of the things that we do in life a lot of thought. And whether it's good or bad, people have given it some thought. The problem with this individual who was only listening to the Yetzer Hara is that even when he's thinking, even when he's resting on his bed, all he thinks is about the wrong things. Because of that, when he wakes up the next day and gets ready to go to work, he's going to be repeating what he did yesterday. So Pasuk Hey says like this, Aven yachshov al mishkavo, yityasev al derech lo tov, ra lo yimas. On his bed, when he's resting, he contemplates, he thinks about the evil. Therefore, when he gets up the next day, he stands in a path that is not good. What do you expect? That's all he was thinking about last night. So where is his problem? The problem is ra lo yimas, he does not despise evil. One of the first important steps in teshuvah, in doing teshuvah, in other words, in repenting, in changing one's lifestyle that was no good, is lim'os bara, to detest it. As the pasuk says, sur mera va'aseh tov. Stay away from evil. Move away from evil, and then you do good. If you don't move away from evil first, how can you begin to do good? It needs to therefore begin with despising, not wanting, hating this, not agreeing with this kind of a path. If people tolerate that which is bad, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. You only did it once. If you tolerate it, you won't be able to uproot it completely. So this man, this individual, ra lo yim'as, he never comes to that. He never comes to detest it. Imagine somebody who's tempted right now to accept a big bribe or to do something illegal. If he's not mo'es bara, if he doesn't declare, I'm totally opposed, I'm totally against doing this, this is wrong. If he doesn't say that, if he evaluates it, then he may fall. No is no. That's it. If something is wrong, it's wrong. No but, if, and, there's no such a thing as yes, but sometimes, no, if it's wrong, it's wrong. In order to declare that something is wrong, you have to be mo'es bara. If it's wrong, if it's evil, you have to detest it, despise it. You have to feel very strongly against it. Otherwise, if a person tolerates it, even if it tolerates it a little bit, it will always be around. It will always be tempting. Even if he controls himself. A lot of people are tempted, they control themselves. But why have to struggle? It's wrong, it's off limits, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to hear it. Like Lashon Hara. This is exactly what we're told when it comes to Lashon Hara, to evil talk, derogatory language. When people talk negatively about others, don't listen to them. Because if you say, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to accept it or believe it. No, you're asking for trouble. Get away from it. Don't be involved with it. It could hurt you. A lot of good people have gotten hurt. Because they say, okay, it's okay. It's not going to happen to me, Don't tolerate it. Be mo'es bara. Despise evil. So this individual, that's all he does, is he thinks about it. Okay, he plans his next day. He's not changing course. He's not changing the track. So therefore, the next day, he's going to continue doing what he did. Until when? Until he's mo'es, until he makes a statement. That's it. As of now, not tomorrow, I'm in a diet. Somebody wants to lose a lot of weight. Not like those who come to a big wedding and they see all the good food. My diet begins tomorrow. Now, are you against this? Do you feel strongly about it? Now, not tomorrow. No, not mañana. Now. Be mo'es. Be strong about it. You'd be surprised. I met a lot of people like that. Shabbat, I'm going to start keeping Shabbat after I get married. They're still single. After I find myself a job. They want it to be easy for them. If this is true, start now. Not tomorrow. Don't wait for it. We all have difficulty in this area. not necessarily with mitzvot, but even with commitments, with all kinds of things to get things done. We procrastinate, we push it off. If something is right and it's possible to do it right away, do it right away. Don't push it off. Because there'll always be things to distract you. Always be things to distract. Something is wrong, let go of it right away. Otherwise, it continues, the same routine. And it's difficult to let go. So these Pesukim, until Pasuk Hey, concern the mistaken belief that many people have that there's no God, there's no judgment, and they're misled by the evil inclination, thinking there's something that is appealing, maybe it's good. They don't realize that he is their enemy. From Pasuk Vav, David HaMelech changes gears and focuses now more on convincing us how Hashem is involved, how Hashem does reward, how there is punishment when we are accountable for our deeds, even though it's not so apparent. So Pasuk Vav reads as follows: Adonai b'Hashamayim chazdecha emunatcha shechakim. Your kindness is in the heavens. And your faithfulness, emunatcha, is till the skies. Shechakim is one of the levels, one of the heavens, one of the skies. Very interesting pasuk. David HaMelech speaks about the chesed of Hashem, Hashem's kindness, and he says it's behashamayim, which is grammatically very, very strange. You should say bashamayim, not behashamayim. But then he says emunatcha ad shechakim. He uses another word for another heaven. Shechakim is another level. And he says this is where chesed is, and this is where emunah reaches. What is he trying to say here? He's saying, let me assure you that there is hashgacha. There is divine providence. God does oversee this world. He does supervise this world. His kindness is all the way there till down here. So behashamayim is not bashamayim, in heaven only. Otherwise it would be, oh, his kindness is only up there. No, it's from there till here. In other words, everywhere you see his chesed. If you only looked around, you can see Hashem's kindness everywhere. That's the chesed. What about the emunah? The emunah reaches up all the way to shechakim. The faith of Hashem reaches up to shechakim, meaning olam haba, meaning the afterlife, which is beyond this world. That's why perhaps he uses the word shechakim to describe that which is beyond. The emunah does not only refer to this world. There are many, many things that we believe that are not in this world. Like olam haba, like tchiyat hametim, the afterlife, the resurrection of the dead. All of these things are beyond this world, beyond the physical world as we know it now. So the chesed of Hashem is everywhere, and he will explain that soon. The emunah goes beyond this world. Man cannot see beyond his lifetime. There are certain things, by the way, that we can see that is not possible for us to see in the physical being while we are alive or awake, but we see them when we're asleep. You can see yourself right now in a different country, even though you're not there. In a sleep, in a dream, it's possible. Because in the dream, it's not the physical being, it's the neshama. Part of the soul is able to experience that which the physical being cannot experience. And those who are fortunate, who are meritorious, the neshama goes up to Shamayim. It goes up to heaven. And they see all kinds of things. Even the souls that have departed from this world, they can see. Man is therefore capable of reaching tremendous heights, even while he's alive. But he doesn't realize that. Because his eyes are more limited or more focused on the physical reality that he sees and experiences. But the emunah extends beyond this reality. It extends ad shechakim, because we believe in sachar va'onesh. We do believe in reward and punishment. Well, where is it? It's at Shechakim. It's not just here. Our emunah is beyond this reality. It's much greater. It's much more. It's broader. It encompasses a lot more than what we can see, what the eye can see. And Hashem's chesed comes down from above, down, all the way down here. He is mashgiach. He is involved. He is kind. Just not everybody sees it. So he continues to elaborate a little bit more on this point in the following pasuk. Tzidkatecha kehar re'el, mishpatecha te'om rabba, adamu ve'emat oshi Adonai. This is a very famous verse, but very few people understand it properly. Because the words are a little bit enigmatic. The words are not so simple. Tzidkatecha, your righteousness, is like harere el, like the very strong and mighty mountains. Righteousness is like mighty mountain. You see what I mean? It's not an easy verse. What does that mean? And mishpatecha, your judgment, tehom rabbah, is like the great depths. You know, the canyons, the gullies, the tehom, the abyss. Your judgment is like the depths. And then he says, Adamu ve'emat oshi Hashem. The man and the animal, God helps, God delivers, God saves. Very strange. Not only are the words a little difficult to understand, there doesn't seem to be a connection between all of these parts of the verse. But what did we just say? David HaMelech begins to explain to us how God is involved in this world, how he's mashgiach, how he supervises and provides. And first he tells us, tzidkatecha, your righteousness. Don't think that just because your eye perceives that there's no justice, that there isn't. There is. Tzidkatecha, your righteousness is kiharere el. It's like the strong, mighty mountains. What does a mighty mountain remind you of? If something is compared to a mighty mountain, what does that mean? What does that tell you? What would you think? There's a lot of, by the way, explanations about this. I'm going to share you with what I came up with, even though the commentaries pretty much explain the same, but slightly differently. But what would you think? What would be your first interpretation if you were to figure this out on your own? That the righteousness of Hashem, in other words, that He's righteous with this world, that righteousness is like the mighty mountains. Anybody want to think a little bit about that? Yeah.
It's immovable. It's not something that changes.
Yeah. I guess we think alike. Exactly. That's what I thought. It's a mighty mountain. Why not just say mountain? No, a mighty mountain. A mighty mountain is immovable. It's strong. In other words, it's a guarantee. Perhaps. It's for sure. Hashem promises, He delivers. I don't think any human being can make a promise and guarantee 100%. Maybe he'll die the next moment. A human being cannot promise and guarantee, for sure. I mean, he can promise, but that promise may not be worth too much. So Hashem's righteousness, David HaMelech assures us, is kiharere el. You can't move it. It's strong. Why does He tell us this? Because let's say you do see an individual who did a good deed when he was 20 years old. But besides that one good deed he did, he's been misbehaving all his life. A sinner. Will he get credit for that one deed? Yes. The rabbis tell us, Ena Kadosh Baruch Hu mekapeach schar shum birya. Kadosh Baruch Hu will not deprive, will not take away the reward that's coming to anyone in this world. Jew or non-Jew, makes no difference, man or woman. Any deed, good deed that was performed, they will be compensated for it in the afterlife usually. Because in this world, en sachara bura mitzvot, there's no reward for the mitzvot in this world. I don't see it. Trust Him that He will not deprive, take away, overlook any deed, no matter how small it is, from any birya, from any individual, any creation. So, it's immovable. That's how our faith should be, unshaken, immovable, because His justice is real, it's strong. But mishpatecha tehom rabbah, but His judgment, not necessarily the righteousness, His judgment, the way He conducts Himself in this world, His laws or rules, that's like the depths. What would you say to that? So far you got the first one right. So what would it be that His mishpatim, His rules, are like the depths? Yes?
It means that there's no limit to it. It's...
Remember, we're talking about here judgment. And judgment is different than righteousness. We're not dealing with compensation necessarily. We're dealing with His rules. He has rules. Basically, something which is very, very deep, you can't see. We can't see them. The mountains are revealed. There's a lot of His kindness that is revealed. That is what some commentators explain about, like the mighty mountains. We said He's immovable. His righteousness is strong. Others say it's revealed, like the mountains are revealed. You can see them. They're tall. They're mighty. They're great. You can see. Look around. You see His righteousness. But His mishpatim, His rules, it's like the depths. They're concealed. We don't always understand. We can't see it all. What can we do? Does that make sense? Yeah? Adam uvehema toshia Hashem. But in reality, God helps, delivers man and animal alike. As the rabbis tell us, mikarnei re'emim ve'ad betzei kenim, from the most mighty animals, the biggest animals, till the eggs of the lice, Hashem takes care of them. From the biggest creatures to the smallest creatures. Everything is accounted for, everyone is looked after, even though it doesn't appear to us. We can't as human beings appreciate the greatness of this creation so much. It's incredible. It's beyond us. But we're told that that's the fact, that Hashem does provide, take care of everyone. And that is the meaning of Adamu Behema Toshia Hashem. Both. Man and animal, they're both His creation. From the most precious part of creation, which is mankind, in the animal kingdom. But the rabbis tell us something else. Sometimes man does not deserve it. So why is he getting food? Why is he getting sustenance? Because of the animals. Hashem provides rain for the animals too. So the men are able, the human beings are able to benefit or derive some benefit of it as well. In reality, maybe they don't deserve it. So sometimes Adam zocheh bizchut habehema, just because the animal is going to get taken care of. So as a result of the animal being taken care of, man also is able to derive some benefit. There's one rabbi that said this pasuk when he saw the ants, little ants eating in the hills. So he said the first part of the pasuk, and then he saw a pelican coming down into the water and scooping up a fish. He says, wow, tehom rabbah. Look at the depth. In other words, God provides food, whether it's in the hill, on the mountain, on dry land, or in the water. Every species has other needs. This one has to grab his food from the depths. Have you seen pictures like that? There's incredible video footage of eagles and all kinds of birds scooping down from a distance. They can see it somehow. Perfect. Coming down, picking up the fish, and that's their lunch or dinner or whatever. It's incredible. It's by design. That's how they get their food. Then you have other animals that get their food in a different way. Incredible. So this pasuk describes how Hashem provides for everyone, each one in their way. So David HaMelech continues on Pasuk Chet. Ma yakar chazdecha Elohim uvnei adam betzel kenafecha yechesayu. How precious is your kindness. Ma yakar chazdecha. We have to understand that too. What does it mean, how precious is your kindness? He says, man takes shelter, betzel kenafecha, in your shadow, in the shadow of your wings. What kind of shelter? Hashem has wings. So, what is David HaMelech telling us over here? Remember, it's a continuation of what he just began to say, how true it is that Hashem does get involved, does provide, does take care of the world. There is justice, we can see his righteousness. But now he describes how precious it is. Now he switches over, David HaMelech switches over, but wait a minute. I realize that there are a lot of people out there who will have complaints. Okay, God is righteous, God is just, but how come all these good people are suffering? Nevertheless, is there any explanation for that? What do we tell them? Just tell them God is righteous, God is just. Don't you see it in the world? It's not enough. How are you going to comfort someone who's in pain? Someone who's really trying to do a good job, he's righteous. How are you going to tell him that God is just and righteous? David HaMelech says, just be careful. Don't begin to complain because you have no idea what is awaiting all these people. If you only knew, ma yakar, how precious these souls are to God. You have no idea what is awaiting them. You have no idea what the afterlife is like. The afterlife, the Olam HaGmul, that's the world of where one gets compensated, where one is rewarded for all that he did. You know what is awaiting that if you only knew, you wouldn't complain. Ma yakar, it's precious beyond belief. No words to describe. For every one mitzvah, one good deed, the entire lifetime is not enough to repay him. Give him 1,000 years. It will pale compared to one moment in Gan Eden in paradise. So he begins to tell us, yes, even though it may be difficult to comprehend God's ways, but remember, ma yakar, you know how precious that chesed is? It's worth it. If you only knew it, it would be worth it to go through this pain. Not that we ask for the pain. But those who are struggling, that's what we tell them, ma yakar chazdecha. Uvnei Adam, betzel kenafecha yasiru. But who is this going to come to? Who's going to have this? Those who trusted in you. Who's going to get all this reward? Bnei Adam, betzel kenafecha yasiru. Those who trusted in you. Those who took shelter under your wings. The simple translation therefore means those who trusted. That's what's awaiting for them. Ma yakar chazdecha, those who trust in you. But the words are a little bit different than the typical words of trusting. In the shadow of your wings. What's the shadow of your wings? This is a description of Olam Haba. This is when we're mamash underneath his wings. In other words, close to him. In his shadow. Even though the whole world is in his shadow, but it's more of a description of Olam Haba, of the world to come. So what's awaiting these people, the real chesed, the real kindness of Hashem, is awaiting in a place which is betzel kenafecha, where they will be able to take shelter close to the Shekhinah. And he's going to explain this a little bit more in the following Pasukim, but this is more or less what he's trying to say over here. The next Pasuk, he continues on to say, Yirviyun medeshen betecha v'nachal adanecha tashkem. They will be filled from the abundance, deshen is abundance of good, of your home. V'nachal adanecha tashkem, and you will give them to drink from the streams of adanecha, of your Gan Eden. So they will be filled with all this goodness, and they will enjoy or benefit from all the streams of Gan Eden. Nachal adanecha tashkem. So this is apparently a continuation of what he said before, that the compensation and reward is in the world to come. And it's eternal. But what is so special about it? What's so special about it is that this is Beitecha. This is the house of God. Even though the world belongs to Him too. But this world, the physical world, is a world of all kinds of upheavals too. As good as you may have it, as rich as you may be, and as many children as you may have, there's a lot of things going on in this world that we have no control over. That doesn't give us peace of mind. No matter how wealthy you are, there's troubles, illnesses, issues, neighbors, right? This is Beitecha. Yirviyu mideshem Beitecha, from all that abundance, from all that everlasting abundance that will be coming to those who were righteous. They will receive that Beitecha in your home, in your home, in other words, in Olam Haba. And they will receive from the streams of Eden. But it says Adanecha in the plural. There's more than one Eden. The rabbis say yes. Each one, according to his level, has his own Eden, his own Gan Eden. The Gan Eden upstairs is not the same for everyone. There's different levels even in Gan Eden. So all of that is the ultimate good, the eternal good, the real chesed. That's in the Bet Hashem, in the house of Hashem. This is a very interesting, a real fascinating pasuk that I think most people do not fully understand. Here he says, what appears to be simple words, for the source of life is with you, and in your light do we see light. Could you understand that? And in your light we see light. So let's first talk about the first few words. With you is the Mekor Chaim. What does that mean? Life begins with you. You're the one that gives life. And what's understood from this is that the Neshama is able to derive the greatest enjoyment when it returns to its source, from where it came from. So, in returning to the Mekor, you are the source of life, which is one idea here. Of course, God is the source of life. But in explaining where this enjoyment is, it's in the same source from where we come from. When the Neshama goes back to where it came from, that is where it is able to enjoy the maximum, something which it cannot do down here. All right. What would it be like? Now comes the interesting part. Be'orcha nir'eh or. In your light, we see light. Light? See light? What light is he talking about? The way I understand this pasuk, at least one way, one interpretation is what millions of people have seen when they experienced near death. A near-death experience, what they all have in common, more or less, is that they see this beautiful light as soon as the soul departs from the body. A warm light that radiates love. They feel so good when seeing that, they're not blinded by it. That they feel they want to be close to it. They want to attach themselves to it. They want to cling to it. That light is the Shekhinah, according to our tradition. Something that is indescribable in physical terms. There's no light like it in this world. So this kind of light, this kind of enjoyment, can only be experienced upstairs. Be'orcha, in your light, in that light, nir'eh or, we will see light. What light will we see there? Once we're close to your light? Light means understanding. That which we don't understand now, we will understand, we will know there, as we get closer to you. Because then we will also have, especially when Mashiach comes, the Or HaGanuz, the hidden light, the light that God put away when He created the world, a special light that we don't have today, except for those who learn the Torah. They have a little bit of that light. There's a special light which enables the human being to see Misof Ha'olam V'ad Sofo, from one end of the world to the other. There's a lot we cannot possibly know in this world, but we will know in the world to come, and we will know when Mashiach comes. Be'orcha, in your light, can also mean the neshama. The neshama is compared to a flame, compared to a light. So it's with you that where life comes from. It is be'orcha, in your light. In other words, in the neshama that you gave us, that we were able to see light, that we were able to get some understanding. The physical body does not know anything. It's the neshama, the captain of the ship, that is able to discern and able to see, to figure out, and to know what to do. We're able to know right from wrong on our own. We have a certain conscience that is divine, that is a spark of God that is within us. That allows us, if we live it, if we give it a chance, if we let it, it will be able to see light. It will be able to see that which is divine. So it's this neshama that every human being has, that it's capable of knowing God. Pasuk Yud Aleph, Meshoch chazdecha liyod'echa v'tzidkatecha liyishrei lev. Extend your kindness to those who know you, and your righteousness to the upright of heart. There are individuals who are righteous, there are individuals who are upright. David HaMelech makes a special prayer here. Meshoch chazdecha, extend your kindness to them. Hashem, you're kind to everyone, but don't leave the ones who are righteous and upright without them being able to benefit from your kindness. If anybody deserves it, they do. Why does he say the word meshoch, extend? Perhaps the reason is because according to the Kabbalah, chesed, kindness, is something that God does even with those who don't deserve it. Therefore, extend. Extend means, in other words, we have to force it. We have to bring it about. And David says, you're bringing it about to those people who don't really deserve it. The more so, those who deserve it, bring it to them too. Let them also enjoy it in this world, not only the world to come. How do we know that this is the way it should be? Because Hashem promised himself in Pashat Bechukotai, in Bechukotai telechu, you follow my statutes, I will be good to you. You will have rain on time, you will prosper, the economy will do well, you'll have no wars. Then why isn't this happening? The reason why this doesn't happen sometimes is because there are evil people amongst us. And it's because of them that everybody suffers. We're in the same boat. So David HaMelech makes a special request perhaps in saying, Hashem, even though as a group, as a nation, they may not deserve it. Meshoch chazdecha, to those at least who are righteous, don't let them suffer as a result of everybody else. Because there are two systems. There's one system that encompasses the entire nation. If you follow my statutes, if you do the mitzvot, this is what will affect the entire nation. But then there is a system that affects each individual human being, his own mazal, his own relationship with God. And of course, it's a little bit different. The rules that affect the nation are slightly different than those that affect the human being. With the nation, things happen almost instantaneously. Within a very short time, we see the results of our actions. With a human being, he can live his entire life doing something wrong, and he won't pay for it here, he'll pay for it up there, whether it's punishment or reward. It will not all happen here, which is what makes it difficult for one to exercise his free will when he sees other people apparently doing well and him not. So David HaMelech says, please, separate the two. Meshoch chazdecha liyod'echa, to those who know you. Your righteousness to those who are upright. Pasuk Yud Bet and Yud Gimel, the last two Pasukim of the Perek, deal with individuals who, as a result of their actions, are almost incurable. As David HaMelech began to say in the very beginning, we have a hard time because of the Yetzer Hara. Fine, okay? But there is something called teshuvah. There is something called repentance. If a person will only take time to think, maybe he would reach the conclusion that he was wrong and change his ways. David HaMelech says, yes, but I'm very concerned about the following. Al tevo'eni regel gava v'yad reshaim al tenideni. Don't let the foot of the arrogant overtake me. That's the literal translation. And the hand of the wicked drive me away. But I prefer the following interpretation. That David HaMelech is not talking about the feet of the arrogant individuals per se. He's concerned about himself not having the midah of arrogance. It is a terrible characteristic. one of the worst, I think the worst characteristic is arrogance. Arrogance makes one forget about God. So, al tevu any regel gava, don't ever bring me to this situation that as a result of my position, power, money, that I will become arrogant. And therefore, I'm afraid that yad reshaim al tenideni, that the hand of the wicked should drive me away from you. So either he's talking about individuals who are arrogant, or the midah, the characteristic of arrogance. They have the ability to drive people away from God, to distance them from God. That is what he's concerned with. Because if somebody is not humble, how is he ever going to change? How is he ever going to admit at wrong that he made a mistake? Even husband and wife, how are they going to reconcile and make peace? If they each one thinks they're right, that they're never wrong. There are a lot of people that think like that. It's arrogance. So that's what David HaMelech is asking, please don't put me in that kind of a situation. So whoever adapts the midah, the characteristic of humbleness, has a chance. We see this throughout history. And that's where he says in the last pasuk of the Perek, Sham nafelu po'ale aven dochu velo yachlu kum. There the doers of evil fell, thrust down, and they couldn't rise, they couldn't get up. Where did they fall? In Ga'ava. Look through history. Look how many leaders, how many kings were arrogant. The arrogance is what brought them down. Rabbis tell us that the reason a lot of people fall or continue to make mistakes because of this arrogance is because after a while, the arrogance or that self-confidence that they have makes them believe that what they're doing is right. Plus, what was once forbidden to them, and they knew was once upon a time forbidden, na'aset lahem keheter. After doing it so many times, it becomes okay, it becomes acceptable. Wait a minute, this was pasul, this was taref, this was not kosher yesterday. How come it is now? After a while, when a person continues to do something that is wrong, he was very confident of himself, eventually it becomes like a heter, it becomes like, okay, it's permissible, nothing wrong with it. He loses the sensitivity to that which once upon a time may have been wrong to him. He fell. Remember, he began to justify, to rationalize it. It was appealing. He was tempted. After a while, that's the danger of doing something for so long, it eventually becomes difficult to let go of it. Rabbis tell us also that the Yetzer Hara sometimes gets an individual to commit something voluntary. If a person does it unintentional, it's also bad enough. Because if he doesn't do teshuvah right away, he may continue to do it next time. Again, even though the first time was unintentional. But the rabbis tell us when the Yetzer Hara is able to convince us to do something voluntarily, then eventually it's very, very difficult to get out of it. A tzaddik, the pasuk says, Sheva yipol tzaddik vakam. A tzaddik can stumble 7 times, but he gets up because he realizes it's wrong. He fell 7 times. But a rasha, sham nafelu po'ale aven, the evil they fall, dochu velo yachlu kum. The rasha cannot come back. The rasha cannot easily get up. The evil man, because he does it intentionally, if he did so intentionally, knowing it was wrong, it's so much more difficult for him to get up. Anyway, these last pesukim describe to us how some individuals can live an entire life doing the wrong thing, even though they did know once upon a time it was wrong. It becomes more and more difficult as time progresses for them to change unless they adopt the midah of humbleness. Humility is what will break the ice. Person realizing, yes, I'm only human, I don't know everything, perhaps I made mistakes, I was wrong. God is kind, He's righteous, and will give me a chance, a second chance to return to Him. If one convinces himself of this, there's nothing that will stop him. On the contrary, he will receive assistance from Shamayim. God will help him come back. But we have to take the first step to basically feel contrite, to feel remorseful, to feel bad. And it takes a lot of guts and courage for people who are always arrogant and overconfident to do that. It's not easy. But in the end, hopefully, a person, if he has some intelligence and does stop to think and reason with his life, hopefully he will come to the conclusion, if I had another chance, I would do it all over again, not wrong, the wrong way. I would do it all over in the right way. In other words, if people say that, if I had another chance, I would do it different, I would do it better, then we're talking about someone who has a chance. The problem is, even then, people sometimes think, it's too late, I'm too old. You see how the Yetzer Hara gets to them even though they're over 80? You're an old guy, forget it, it's over with. It's never too late to change. Even if people made mistakes for years, a husband and wife fought for 40, 50 years, they can still make a U-turn. It takes just courage. It takes a little bit of sensitivity in realizing, wait a minute, if I do believe in God, if I do, and I do admit the mistake, then perhaps we can start all over again. The answer is yes. Once a person has done that, then of course he has severed, hopefully, the relationship with the evil inclination. But not for too long. That evil inclination is going to come back and back, especially if he lost a customer. It hurts him a lot. I just lost my best customer, I'm going to try my best to get him. And that is why people who are doing teshuvah have a hard time sometimes. The Yetzer Hara pursues them. So if they learn Torah, they will realize, hey, this is the strategy of the evil inclination. This is exactly what he's planning to do. I better be extra careful. Anyway, the segula of this perek, every chapter has a special metaphysical power to say. This one is a more general one, that when one is in trouble, any kind of trouble, he can say this perek. There are other chapters that one can say as well that will help him. But this one, especially if you understand the words of what he's saying, B'ezrat Hashem, has a tremendous power in strengthening our emunah. B'ezrat Hashem.